we mark them on the calendar. We get the day off. We barbecue, shop, or sleep in. But every federal holiday carries a quieter story, one full of political deals, delayed freedom, forgotten firsts, and arguments that still haven't fully settled. This is the year, told through those hidden chapters. January 1st. We call it New Year's Day because the ancient Romans, under Julius Caesar, chose this date more than 2,000 years ago. They named the month after Janus, the god of beginnings and transitions, a figure with two faces, one looking to the past and one to the future. When the modern calendar was later refined, the world kept January 1st as the start of the year. In the United States, it became one of the original 4 federal holidays created in 1870. But for decades under slavery, this same day carried a very different meaning. It was known as Hiring Day, the moment many enslaved people learned whether their families would be rented out and torn apart. Then, on January 1st, 1863, the Emancipation Proclamation took effect. The date that once meant fear became a day of cautious hope. That is why watch night services still take place in many black churches on New Year's Eve, a quiet tradition of waiting for freedom that continues more than 160 years later.
To you, Mama.
A new year, a new blessing.
Amen. We made it.
Third Monday in January, birthday of Martin Luther King, Jr. The only federal holiday created in the late 20th century until Juneteenth. Congress debated for 15 years after King's assassination. It finally passed in 1983 and was first observed in 1986. Some states resisted for years. Arizona lost a Super Bowl bid over it. In a few places, the day was long paired with Robert E. Lee's birthday. The holiday we now take for granted was, for a time, one of the most contested on the calendar. Washington's birthday. Officially, the federal government still calls it Washington's birthday. Almost everyone else says President's Day. He was given the day because no other American at the time stood as tall in the national memory. George Washington had led the Continental Army to victory, presided over the Constitutional Convention, and served as the first president, then voluntarily walked away from power. In an age when many expected leaders to become kings, he refused a crown. That rare combination made him the symbol of the new republic. Celebrations of his birthday began during his lifetime and grew stronger after his death. In 1879, Congress made it the first federal holiday created to honor a specific American. Later, the date was moved to a Monday for a long weekend, but the official name was never changed. The man who refused a crown is still remembered on a floating Monday that rarely falls on his actual birthday. Last Monday in May, Memorial Day. Its deepest roots may lie with formerly enslaved people in Charleston, South Carolina. In May 1865, they reburied Union soldiers who had died in a Confederate prison camp and held a massive procession, possibly the first Memorial Day observance. Waterloo, New York, later received official credit as the birthplace. The holiday was long called Decoration Day and only became a fixed federal Monday holiday in 1971. A national moment of silence at 3 p.m. has existed by law since 2000. Almost no one observes it. The newest federal holiday, signed into law in 2021. It marks the day in 1865 when Union
Headquarters to
troops
District
finally
Texas,
reached
Galveston,
Galveston,
June 19,
Texas,
1865.
and
The people
enforced
of
the
Texas are informed that,
Emancipation
in accordance with the
Proclamation.
proclamation from the Executive of the United
2.5
States, all slaves are
years
free.
after Lincoln signed it, and more than 2 months after the Civil War effectively ended. For generations, it was a regional celebration in Texas and black communities. Activist Opal Lee, then in her 90s, walked across the country to push for national recognition. It is the first new federal holiday since Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Independence Day. Congress actually voted for independence on July 2, 1776. The Declaration was adopted and dated July 4th. John Adams was sure Americans would forever celebrate the 2nd. We chose the 4th. One of the original 1870 holidays, it has never been moved to a Monday. The fireworks and cookouts hide a simple fact. The date we celebrate is the publication date, not the decision date. First Monday in September, Labor Day. Born from a New York City parade of roughly 10,000 workers on September 5, 1882, two men with nearly identical names, Peter McGuire and Matthew McGuire, are still argued over as founders. After the violent Pullman strike of 1894, President Grover Cleveland pushed a September holiday into law, partly to undercut the more radical May Day tradition associated with the Haymarket Affair. Oregon made it a state holiday first. The federal version arrived in the middle of labor bloodshed. Columbus Day is one of the more complicated federal holidays. It began as a way for Italian Americans to claim a place in the American story at a time when they faced heavy discrimination. After a brutal lynching of Italian immigrants in New Orleans in 1891, and with the 400th anniversary of Columbus's voyage approaching, President Benjamin Harrison issued a national proclamation in 1892. Italian-American groups, including the Knights of Columbus, continued pushing for recognition. In 1937, President Franklin Roosevelt made it a national observance. It only became a full federal holiday in 1968 under the Uniform Monday Holiday Act, which also moved it to the second Monday in October. Congress saw it as both a celebration of exploration and a recognition of immigrant contributions. Today, the holiday remains contested. Many cities and states now observe Indigenous Peoples Day on the same date, reflecting a deeper argument about whose history the calendar should honor. The federal government, however, still officially calls it Columbus Day.
Veterans Day began as Armistice Day. On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918, the guns of World War I fell silent. In 1938, Congress made November 11th a federal holiday dedicated to world peace and to the veterans of that war. After World War II and the Korean War, the meaning expanded. In 1954, Congress renamed it Veterans Day to honor all who had served in the U.S. military. The date was briefly moved to a Monday in the early 1970s for a long weekend, but veterans groups successfully fought to return it to November 11th, where it has remained since 1978. It is one of the few federal holidays that stayed tied to its original historic date because of the power of that exact moment in time. Thanksgiving became a federal holiday in 1870, one of the original four.
Its deeper roots go back to President Abraham Lincoln, who in 1863 called for a national day of Thanksgiving on the last Thursday of November during the Civil War. The tradition held for decades until 1939, when President Franklin Roosevelt moved it earlier to create a longer Christmas shopping season. The change caused confusion and backlash. Some states refused to follow. In 1941, Congress permanently fixed Thanksgiving as the fourth Thursday in November. It remains one of the few federal holidays that has never been moved to a Monday, largely because of its deep cultural and family importance. Christmas is one of the original 4 federal holidays created in 1870. In the early American Republic, many Protestant communities viewed Christmas with suspicion, seeing it as too Catholic or too rowdy. It only became the widespread family-centered holiday we know during the 19th century, shaped by changing cultural attitudes, literature, and growing commercial traditions. Some people believe retailers played a major role in shaping the modern version of the holiday, pushing gift-giving and decorations to drive sales. Over time, Christmas has become heavily commercialized, often more associated with shopping, advertising, and consumption than with its original religious meaning. By 1870, when Congress established the first federal holidays for workers in Washington, D.C., Christmas was already firmly part of American life. Like New Year's Day and Independence Day, it has never been moved to a Monday. Its place on the calendar reflects both religious tradition and deep cultural habit, even as the way it is celebrated continues to shift. 11 days. 11 different stories of compromise, delay, protest, and quiet persistence. The calendar does not simply mark time. It records what a nation has chosen, sometimes reluctantly, sometimes after long argument, to remember together. The next time one of these dates arrives and the office closes or the parade rolls by, the quieter history is still there, waiting just beneath the surface.
Connection, smile so true. Grinning buffalo smiles with you. Stay happy, folks.